Before you chase that dream job, you need to hear my story. I thought I had it all, but my once coveted position became a daily battle in a deeply toxic workplace. This isn't just about a bad experience. It's a raw and honest account of how a dream can turn into a living nightmare and why you should always trust your gut. My name is Maya. I chased a title and a logo because I thought they meant safety. The offer looked perfect. Pay was strong. Perks looked shiny. The team sounded sharp. The website spoke about values. The interviews spoke about trust. I said yes without a second thought. Week 1 felt bright and fast. Welcome gifts showed up on my desk. Slack buzzed with friendly emojis. The handbook promised respect and fairness. Then week 2 showed a seam I could not ignore. A joke that cut. A meeting that shifted at the last minute. Praise that landed with a hidden sting. My calendar filled with late one-on-ones. Doors closed for talks that had nothing to do with the work. My updates moved without me. My name faded from slides I created. I felt a quiet no in my stomach. I decided to listen to it. I started to write things down. Dates, times, rooms, subjects. Who was present? What changed? I saved emails. I saved chat links. I kept copies at home. I told no stories to anyone. I kept only facts. I did not want drama. I wanted a record. I reminded myself to breathe and to stay steady. If the ground moves under your feet, you do not run first. You plant, you measure, you act. That is how you keep your power when the room gets loud. That is how a dream that turns can still teach you what you need to know. The company sold speed and impact. I joined a product ops pod that supported launches across 3 teams. My manager, Clark, ran fast and talked faster. He loved the phrase, move the needle. He booked meetings on short notice and called it hustle. Week 3, the mask slipped. Clark started dropping by my desk with close talk and stray touches on my shoulder. He joked about my calm voice. He asked if I was always this serious. I answered with work. I showed the rollout map and the risks we needed to solve. He nodded, then shifted a deadline without asking. Slides I built appeared in a director deck with my name missing. He said it was a team edit. I said I needed credit to keep the trail clean. He smiled and said, not everything needs a receipt. I felt the knot in my stomach again. I listened to it. My calendar filled with late one-on-ones. Doors closed. Topics wandered. He asked personal questions that had nothing to do with metrics or delivery. I moved every meeting to core hours and kept them in glass rooms. I asked for agendas in writing. He pushed back and called me rigid. I stayed calm and pointed to policy. I started a simple log. Date, time, room. Who walked by? What changed? I saved emails and chats to a personal archive. I took photos of whiteboards before anyone erased them. I put copies in 3 places. I told no one outside work needs. I kept the tone neutral. I wrote only facts. I focused on delivery and stayed visible. Open desk, open files, clean handoffs. I gave my team what they needed to ship. I gave myself what I needed to stay clear. Clark turned praise into pressure. In stand-up, he called me the backbone, then moved my deadlines up by a week and added a late sprint review to keep pace. He booked a recap at 8 p.m. and said leadership wanted fresh numbers by morning. I replied with policy and moved it to core hours. He laughed and said we are builders, not clock punchers. I kept my tone flat and asked for priorities in writing. The knot in my stomach tightened. Slides I owned shifted again. My charts appeared in a director deck with new colors and no name. When I asked for credit, he said not everything needs a receipt. I wrote the exact words in my log. Date, time, room. Then I opened the handbook and reread the harassment and conduct sections. Clear language, clear steps, report to HR, provide facts, avoid one-on-one meetings with the subject. I booked HR for the next morning and walked in with a short list. Dates, times, subjects, links, 2 witness names. The rep smiled and said, bring evidence. I said the file is here. She skimmed, nodded, and said we will review. I left without drama. I returned to delivery and worked in glass rooms only. I kept all invites public. I CC'd my skip level on key decisions. That week, Clark tried friendly. coffee offers, compliments in group chat. A sudden "you're a star" message with a director copied. It read like cover. I screenshotted it and saved the thread link. He then reassigned one of my tasks to a junior with no context. I wrote a clean handover, shared the drive folder, and logged the change. I asked HR for status in writing. The reply came back short. "We are looking into it." My stomach said, "Move." My notes said I was ready. Silence stretched for 2 weeks. HR sent one-line replies. "We are reviewing. Please be patient." Clark adjusted my scope again and called it alignment. He moved a deliverable to his favorite PM and said I needed air cover. In the same hour, he added me to a side project he owned and booked a recap after hours. I declined the time and proposed 2 p.m. in a glass room with an agenda. He replied with a thumbs up and no agenda. My log grew by the day. I kept my chair near the window. I kept all conversations in public spaces. I wrote a 1-page brief for every task and posted it to the shared drive. I made my work traceable and boring to politicize. I followed the book. I sent HR a dated summary with links and asked for a status date. I quoted the non-retaliation clause and listed the task reassignments with timestamps. I attached 2 short witness notes, facts only, no adjectives. That night, I read the reporting section again and saw what I had missed. There was a compliance hotline with a case system and an independent investigator. No scheduling games, no soft language, a clean route. I opened the page and typed the first line. Manager behavior and schedule changes following a conduct report. I listed dates, rooms, links, and names in order. I uploaded the folder index and the PDF exports. I pressed submit and copied the case number into an email to legal with 1 sentence. Report filed, evidence attached. The knot in my stomach loosened, not because someone promised help, because the path existed and I was on it. The next morning, the hotline replied with an investigator name, an interview slot, and a request for my chronology. For the first time since week 2, I felt the ground under my feet. The investigator moved faster than anyone inside the org. I received a calendar invite with a clear subject, case number, and room. I walked in with my file and answered in short, plain sentences. Dates, times, rooms, messages. I handed over the chronology first, then the exports. No speeches, no opinions, only what happened and where it lives. By noon, the investigator met my 2 witnesses in separate rooms. Their notes matched my timeline. Badge logs matched entry times. Slack exports matched the server records. In the afternoon, legal asked for my original raw notes with device names, so I sent the files unedited with metadata intact. HR stayed polite and distant, the way a room gets when it knows it is no longer running the clock. Clark tried one more angle. He sent a friendly invite titled Reset, Private Room, No Agenda. I replied with the policy line, core hours, shared room, written agenda. He did not answer. He left early and his door stayed closed. The next day, compliance posted a reminder about non-retaliation in our policy channel. I added nothing. I kept working in glass rooms and posted my handovers on the shared drive. I moved every status into writing and kept my tone flat. The floor grew quiet in a new way. People watched doors. People watched the clock. When the investigator returned on day 3, clipboard in hand, the hall parted without a word. I answered one follow-up set, then walked back to my desk and finished the sprint items due that day. No victory rush. No collapse. Only a steady sense that the process had my pace now, not his. The week after, interviews felt strange. The floor went quiet. Smiles looked careful. People watched doors more than screens. Clark switched tactics. In the team channel, he called me a rock star, then pulled one of my core tasks and handed it to a junior who reports to him. I wrote a clean handover, shared the drive folder, and logged the change with time and impact. He booked a late calibration to talk performance. I replied with the rubric link and asked for metrics, dates, and a witness per policy. He sent no agenda and let the invite expire. HR scheduled a check-in and asked if I felt safe. I answered simply, I follow the plan. I work in glass rooms. I deliver on time. They reminded me of non-retaliation and asked for examples of scope shifts. I sent the log and the thread where he praised me in public while cutting my work in private. Compliance acknowledged receipt within an hour and said they had what they needed. I kept my chair by the window and posted short briefs for every task to the shared drive. I moved all decisions into writing. I asked the PM to confirm ownership lines so the junior had cover. No bait for failure. No gaps to blame. Clark tried friendly again. Coffee offers, jokes, a light tap on my desk followed by a quick retreat when he saw another manager nearby. I logged the time and the room and got back to work. By Friday afternoon, a new message appeared in the policy channel. A reminder that retaliation includes schedule changes, task removal, and informal reviews. No names, no drama. The room read it anyway. I closed my laptop at 5 and walked out at 5:05. The office sounded like air returning to a sealed space. The audit moved fast after that. My interview transcript arrived the next morning. Clean lines, no flair. I read it once and confirmed. By noon, the investigator finished with both witnesses. Their notes matched my timeline. Badge logs matched entry times. Slack exports matched message IDs. The file held together without me holding it. Midweek, compliance pulled prior reports tied to Clark. 2 were closed as coaching. 1 ended with the word miscommunication. The dates overlapped my first entries. The pattern looked old, not new. Legal asked for 1 more item. My raw notes with device names. I sent the originals. No edits. Metadata intact. Clark tried one last move. A friendly invite for a reset in a private room with no agenda. I replied with 1 line. Core hours. Shared room. Written agenda. He did not answer. He left early. His door stayed closed. Friday at 3:15, the investigator called me in. A director sat at the table. HR sat next to her. They thanked me for the structure. They said the evidence was strong. They said policy was clear. They asked 1 question. Do you want to transfer? I said no. I want a clean team. I want the work I earned. They nodded. They said actions were underway. They said I would receive a written outcome next week. They asked if I needed time off. I said I would finish my sprint and leave on time. I walked back to my desk. The floor felt still. People looked up, then down. The closed door at the end of the hall did not open. I updated my board and sent 2 handovers. I packed my bag at 5. I stepped outside and felt the knot in my stomach release another notch. The written outcome arrived Monday at 10:06. Subject line was plain, findings and actions. I opened it and read each line twice. Substantiated. Policy sections cited. Dates listed. Administrative leave effective immediately. Access suspended. Equipment collected. An interim lead would take the team. HR restated non-retaliation in writing. Compliance noted that prior coaching files were reopened under the new findings. At noon, a reorg note hit the channel. Roles clarified. Handoffs clean. My original scope returned without the late add-ons and informal calibrations. The junior kept the task he had started. I sent full context and a thank you for steady work under noise. He replied with a thumbs up. Quiet, but solid. At 3, security walked Clark out. No scene. No whispers. Keys, chairs, and muted keyboards carried the room. That evening, the director called me. She apologized for the delay and for the burden of proof. I said thank you. I said the best apology is policy followed. She agreed. She offered a mentor outside the chain and a skip-level check-in for the next quarter. I accepted both. The next day, I received 2 calendar holds from compliance. 30-day and 90-day follow-ups. Non-retaliation and workload alignment. I kept working. I wiped my desk. I updated my board. I posted handovers with simple titles and links. I put the printed file in a box and wrote 1 word on the lid. Kept. That night, I slept through. In the morning, the office sounded like an office again. Low voices about tasks, not people. Clear asks, clear timelines. The knot in my stomach felt smaller. Not gone. Smaller. Enough for breath. Enough for focus. Enough to do the work I was hired to do. This was not luck. This was process. Policy over noise. Records over stories. A clean file beats a clever line in a meeting. If you feel the ground move under your feet, slow down. Write what happened, where it happened, who was there. Save emails. Save links. Keep copies in more than one place. Use your handbook like a map. Follow each step in order. Ask for status in writing. Keep meetings in glass rooms. Keep your chair where eyes can see you. Do not argue feelings with an office that trades in spin. Send facts. Let the system touch real numbers and real times. That is how pressure shifts from you to the process. Retaliation is not a mystery. It looks like schedule games, task pulls, informal reviews. Log each one. Send one report. Then let compliance drive. While they work, protect your day. Post handovers. Share files. Give the junior cover. Make your track so clear that anyone can follow it. That clarity is power. It keeps you steady when the room gets warm. What you get in the end is not a trophy. You get your ground back. A desk that sounds like work. A calendar that respects hours. A breath that reaches the bottom of your lungs. That is the win. If this helped you, subscribe to Revenge Rewind. We tell workplace stories with steps you can use. Comment with one action you will take this week to protect your proof. Watch the Workplace Revenge playlist next. Learn the pattern. Know the policy. Keep your receipts. Keep your peace.